Hello, my name is Walker Thompson, and welcome again to another installment of an online demonstration of the When to Manage back office system. We're always great when you come back and watch another one of our YouTube page videos, so thank you very much for the opportunity to show you more of our products. The first, we like to start these presentations with just a little bit about ourselves so you understand, again, our perspective on how we're improving the back office technology and back office workload of a manager or even an owner at a retailer or restaurant. To start, when we think what happens in a restaurant, well, it's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things going on, and typically a lot of these things and or stuff revolves around spreadsheets. Now, in your restaurant or in your retail operation, you might have a lot of spreadsheets that you're using every single day. They could be, for payroll, HR, scheduling. Now, many of those spreadsheets get a lot of time spent on them, right? I mean, let's face it, a lot of managers talk about being in the weeds when they're doing a lot of busy work. So if you could eliminate some of those spreadsheets, what would that do, right? Well, that's what When to Manage is about. We look at the number of hours and the time spent on a lot of these tasks and try to think, well, if you're spending a lot of tasks, a lot of time on reporting and scheduling all in spreadsheets, what if you could have part of that day back? What if instead of spending a lot of time on spreadsheets, you were spending time more on guest management and marketing? Let's face it, a lot of time that a manager spends is on these spreadsheets and extraneous tasks that don't really move the needle insofar as sales. So that's what we're here to do, is put all those systems into one solution so it's nice and easy and fluid and efficient. Okay, on to the demonstration. Now you know a little bit about us, let's go into the application. So here we are on the home screen. You're seeing the coverage report for today. Again, what a manager could do is a few tasks from here. For example, approve time off request, maybe mark attendance status if that's necessary, maybe even review one of the coverage reports and see who's working, when, and by every 15-minute increments. A lot of our fine dine operators like to use this. Okay, so again, we kind of have a nice global view of the operation. Now, in our schedule, the advanced functions I'm going to talk about today are mainly going to be on forecasting. So I'm going to click on our schedule that we've set up already. So we're going to load that page, and what's going to come up is going to be the schedule for our bartenders. But let's go to the staff schedule again so we can see a little bit more detail or a fuller schedule. Now, what we've got here is the schedule. This has been published, as you can see. It's been sent out to the staff via text message, email. They've received it on their mobile device. In many cases, we can push the schedule down into the point of sale system to manage early clock in and late clock out. That's a great feature. Be sure to ask your reseller about that one. But the feature I'm going to talk about today is our forecasting tool. Now, right now, we have this forecast target set up at no more that a manager will not spend more than 12% of the available assumed net revenues on our labor expenses. Right now, this manager has spent 15.07% or 3.07% over the mark. Okay, so this manager might want to dial down the schedule a little bit. In other words, not spend as much on the schedule because, again, that may not be a marker that the owner or maybe a general manager has set to control expenses. How does a manager do that? Well, simple. First off, again, this schedule has been published, so I need to go ahead and click OK, and I need to pull this schedule, maybe this particular shift back down a little bit. So I'm going to just go ahead and quickly edit, maybe push it down to, let's say 6 p.m. Okay, a 30-minute shift may not be likely, but you get the point. Dial down the schedule to fit within the parameters that have been set. So once I do that, my forecast is going to update. But let's look a little bit deeper insofar as what we are how we're actually judging the forecast itself. A manager would go in here to settings, click on the forecasting button, and there's two options available. First off, the labor forecasting model. Right. So where did that 12% come from? Well, it came from the matrix set at the enterprise level or the corporate level or GM level. Here you can see that there's that 12%. So this location, if they spend more than $1,001, we do not want to spend more than 12% of that available net revenue on our labor expenses. If we do, like you saw in the example before, it turns red. Okay. Now we'll close this out. Go to our sales forecast because this is an important task. Right now we've got a budget set. There's an algorithm on the back end saying to the manager that we expect you to do at least $1,232 in sales on Sunday, $1,100 and some odd dollars on Saturday, ultimately resulting in $7,294 for the week. Now, the manager's responsibility is to say, well, okay, that may be what the algorithm is saying and the historic POS sales data. However, I know differently. So I'm going to log in here and say, well, I think it's going to be more like $500 today because we have perhaps a big party coming in, or maybe there's some kind of event. Now, what does that do? Well, once I update this, it's saying to the system, okay, we need to adjust that sales forecast. We need to make sure that we have the right number of staff to support these numbers of sales. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, if a manager does that, how do I know they're being successful? Well, there's a report for that. You can see what the manager's actually forecasting, or what's forecasted and what actually happened, what they scheduled and what actually happened. Great reporting for your managers. If I go back to the labor schedule, that would have been updated, and you can see a new forecast that's relatable, again, to that specific sales forecast that we entered. So, what does forecasting really do? It controls how much money a manager is about to spend on their labor based on what's happening on the ground level, i.e. the manager, and what's happening on the algorithm or what the enterprise has set in motion to be the rules and reg. Thank you so much for joining in on this presentation today. We hope you come back and watch more of our YouTube channel.